Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ORL here for the French Grand Prix. It's an absolute pleasure to be back here on your Sunday evening. And I've got to say, we're very much looking forward to a very hench lineup, stacked lineup here for you tonight. All your best and brightest esports drivers are here in prime fit condition. Fingers crossed anyway. And I am happy to be joined by my colleague and co-commentator, Jack Canan. Jack, how are you?
Excited to be back with ORL as always, George. Of course, myself and yourself, we covered the real race earlier, but now I think we're going to get something a little bit more action-packed today because a lot of the esports stars that we missed out last week are back in full swing.
Absolutely, we are back with a vengeance. The drivers are back with a vengeance, and we're here in France. We're obviously looking forward to seeing what these guys can do, and I'm glad to be reunited with my green screen as well once again, even though my hand disappears when it goes this way. Sorry. So yeah, no, that's pretty cool. But yes, obviously the French Grand Prix, founded in 1906, and the race, of course, first held in 1906 as well. Usually they take this over 53 laps, but here today we're going to be going for the more moderate, I would say 50%. So obviously these drivers won't have to contest with as many laps as what the real drivers will have to contest with, but obviously still a test nonetheless, because the track is filled with various different bends. Of course, then you've got the main straights, down the Mistral stretch they call it. What are your thoughts going into a race such as this, Jack? Obviously, it's very testing for the drivers. They've got to try and articulate their way around this circuit. Very, very tough.
Yeah, it's an interesting circuit because it has elements of various different tracks. It has elements, it's almost like Monza in a way. It's like long straight chicane, fast left-hander, fast right-hander. It's got some interesting characteristics to it. And as we all know, there is lots and lots and lots of runoff here, but again, track limits. That's the big problem because the game is very strict with it.
It is very strict. Lots of runoff here at France, obviously, so these drivers are going to try and hold on to the apexes as best they can. Can't afford to go stretching off track or traipsing in places where they shouldn't be. Of course, the stewards come down hard, as you can hear the timer is whittling down on the lobby as well. So we're just about to load up now, folks, as you can now hear. And we have got many people in the live chat. Quick to hear or see some new faces and usual faces. Just Eva, Paris Burrell, Daniel Lorentz, and many others as well. Sam Gamer. Welcome everybody to the chat. Of course, please post comments in the live window. Of course, we like to read out now and again as to what you guys are saying tonight. Obviously, some familiar faces will crop up in the lobby as well. Folks, very excited seeing our best and brightest esports drivers out on the circuit. It's going to be very interesting indeed as we're now about to go down to qualifying. Obviously, what are your thoughts obviously, when it comes to track, I don't know what you would call it, generation, because obviously we know that pace tends to quicken up at a track like France, but obviously, like you say, you've got the danger of track limits. Who do you think is the best driver equipped to sort of handle that pressure?
Ooh, so that's a tough one because you don't want to pick favourites too early on because remember last week Ben Sabel, immense in qualifying, took pole position in the rain. Let's not forget it did rain last week in France. So, Canada. They're French speaking. It's going to be interesting to watch because you've got some heavy hitters there. Of course, Jarno, Mr. Hot Lapper. Ha 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 ha! Don't ever call him Hot Lapper in his words. But you've got Jarno, you've got Danny, remember James Baldwin has a pole position as well in Shanghai in China. So there's plenty of drivers worthy of getting that pole position or capable of getting that pole position. It's just who can hook it up who can basically pull it out of the bag at the last moment because it all comes down to those last runs. Plenty of people coming out for outlaps already, as it did in Canada. It's very dark around the circuit, so there could be a threat of rain later on.
Yes, and the weather conditions can certainly bring a few question marks to proceedings as we're now seeing Camel Common back with us here in the ORL A split. Of course, recently left CRG, Comrade Gaming, as some of you may know. And of course, he won the giveaway last week, Jack. So he's got himself a new pair of HyperX earphones coming his way, or cans, as some people like to call them, as he makes his way down the second part of the Mistral stretch. And let's see what this man can do. Obviously, a hat tip thrown to him. He's certainly a hope for the future in terms of F1 esports. So hopefully he can try and garner some more pace here today. And he's actually been winning.
It's raining, George.
I've just seen the drop starting to fall down. So that could throw out a few complicated issues. It might be now or never to post a quick lap time, Jack.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, where everyone's out on an outlap now. It's basically whoever gets across the line first has the best track conditions. And guess who's first out? It's none other than Jarno Altmaier.
Yes, and he's certainly going to try and pounce on the optimum conditions. Now you can see he's already opted for the soft tyres, so he's going out on a fast lap now. So let's ride on board with the Flying Dutchman as he comes down towards the Valerie S's now. Of course, after the start-finish line ahead of him, you can see there Mr. Anker just coming off track, allowing the Alfa Romeo, obviously the what people like to call, or I like to call him the apprentice, the Alfa Romeo team. It certainly is the other way around, and certainly in this Dutchman's case as he makes his way around the Virage de la Hotel, now around the Virage du Cap, and very soon he'll be tackling the Virage de la Samborm now as he makes his way around it, heading out on the outset towards the Ligne Droit de Mistral, or the Mistral Straight as I like to call it. Of course, all the way down here, this long stretch will lead you down towards the Corbet du Signé. And but first he's got to try and tackle this little almost like a little S section, and this just allows the driver to sort of slow down the pace going down the stretch as the droplets continue to fall. Jarno Watmere, it's now or never certainly to post a fast lap here today, so please expect, folks, for the fast drivers to come out straight away and post fast laps, as we're now seeing Jarno come around the Corbet de Signé, and very soon to be making his way around the double Droit de Bousset as well. Obviously a lot of French names, it is a French circuit, as we now see Jarno Watmere making his way around the next left-hander. This is the Virage de Bendo, or Bendor, and now around this little right-handed kink, that being the Corbet de la Galabane. Down the Virage de la Tour now, this little swinging left-hander, down towards the Virage du Pont, the final hairpin bend, which he now whittles his way around. Very smooth indeed from Jarno Watmere. He's about to come up across the line, and the Dutchman nails what will be a 128.093. What a start, Jack.
Yeah, good stuff so far for Otmere. So he sets the benchmark time. Paradze 29.6 and Matteo half a second off. So that's a hell of an opening marker from Otmere. Baldwin the closest so far, 28.3, 28.0 straight out of the box for Jarno Otmere. I think if it was more better conditions, you'd be aiming for times in the 27s. But considering the track conditions, I think that's a pretty good effort from Otmere and from Baldwin too. That's an excellent opening lap, and that might be the only chance they get. They're going to have to do as many laps as possible now before the track conditions get any worse. But if they've already set the lap, then there's no point. So qualifying might actually already be over, George.
Yeah, I think if the rain continues to fall the way it's going, it certainly has provided a very quick exit for a lot of the drivers here in qualifying. As we're now seeing Ben Szabo cross the line, he's been impressive so far towards the last stage of this season, but that's not a very impressive lap time. A 131.434, you would have hoped for better. He's currently around 3.5 seconds off the pace. Looking further down, you got Mode Sweat. Still, jury's out on who this driver is, as we now see the Red Bull make its way around the next right-hander. He's in Sector 3. Let's see what he can do as he makes his way down towards the next left-hander indeed, trying to grip to the apex. And Red Bull, as we saw today in the Portuguese Grand Prix, P3 for Max Verstappen. Less said about Alex Albon, the better, I think, after today's performance, as we now see Mode Sweat come down towards the final hairpin. That, of course, being the Virage du Pont. And the Raging Bull here now on the outset, past the paddock, about to come across the line. And I don't think it's going to quite tickle the top end here. It's going to be P13. And I think maybe the driver's starting to really struggle with the conditions already, Jack. Is it getting a little too slick for them out there?
I think so. Falcon Nardi is about to come across the line to begin his lap. He's going out on the medium tyres. So he's going to try and just see what he can do. If he can get inside the top 10, well and good, but he'll see what he can do. If you're wondering who some of the drivers are, they're using alternate accounts, of course. Chromatic, that's Nicolas Longe. Babyface is Fabrizio Donoso. Who else have we got using alternate accounts? Hayes, of course, that's Matthias Colligon. Of course, Jarno is just using a different account. We all know that's Jarno, but there's a couple of you may not recognize. Two others we should mention as well. Tian Yutang, he is the Chinese esports champion, who's joining us today in the top split, and a certain Tom 97 in P19. We'll see how he gets on the top split, George.
Yeah, we certainly will. Tom 97, of course, he's been racing. Well, you probably caught his channel. He has a very active YouTube channel, a lot of subscribers, and great to see him here taking part in ORL. I know me and him have contacted each other on many occasions. He's been a very pleasant guy as well, a good driver, certainly a lot of talent, and well within his rights to be here, that's for sure. And of course, very much associated with the Veloce team as well. And Veloce come here in full force, in fact. So they've got Hayes here as well. Of course, Matthias Colligon. Of course, Jarno Watmere. And, of course, James Baldwin. So Veloce extremely stacked, as well as Tomek Paradzik as well who's in amongst the grid order. So as you guys probably are aware, Veloce have a heavy hand in certainly the esports series. They've got McLaren and not forgetting as well Alfa Romeo as part of their juggernaut empire, and an empire that surely Emperor Palpatine would be pleased of, certainly if he was in charge of them. They certainly seem to garner a lot of respect in the esports community, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They're a powerhouse in these sports. But I think Tom has actually come out on intermediate tires, so he thinks it's still too wet for those dries. Colligan's still pushing on because he needs to get a time in, but he obviously invalidated his first run because he's had to come back out on a set of the soft tires to try and get himself up the grid, because right now he hasn't set a time and he's in last place. And I watched him coming out of the last corner to begin his lap. DRS is disabled. There you go. So no DRS. So qualifying's done, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it certainly is. DRS now off the menu here for these drivers, as we now see Tom 97 try to whittle his way around the final corner. So a very quick ending to qualifying here, folks. Certainly the way things are stacked right now, Jarno Opmeer can sit comfortably at the top end, of course. Hardly any wear on those tyres, and James Baldwin, of course, doing the same. Those two will probably be, based on what we've seen already, your front pairing on the top end of the grid classifications, which, of course, is good for them. And VSR Corney, probably his best performance in qualifying this season. He's up on P3. Nicholas Matteo, Jarno's teammate, on the second row as well, coming into the pit lane. Danny Moreno in P5. And as you quite rightly say, Jack, all these drivers now starting to dive into the pit box now. Obviously, I can imagine they'll all be retiring for the end of the session.
But let's not discount the track. It could also stop raining. I've seen that happen before, towards the end of the session. So Hayes comes across the line, Colligan. Where's he going to go now? This is be an example lap. That's the difference. 140.4 on a set of the dry tyres on a pretty much wet track. So that's 12 seconds off the pace. That just gives you an idea.
Yeah, well, I suppose you're going to see a lot of drivers now donning the intermediates. Of course, Corney's out there on Inters as well. Alessio DiCaprio. I'm calling him DiCaprio. I know we got lambasted in the chat last week after calling him DiCaprio. His real name is DiCapua.
Capua. You need a bit of Italian, George. Come on.
Di Capua. My
Italian. You've got to say it with the hand gesture too.
My Italian is about as good as my English, to be honest with you, Jack. But yeah, not too good. But no, Alessio Di Capua in P8 for the time being. I think I got that right then. Yes, he was very, very impressive last week in Canada. I got to say, he was sort of like a flash in the darkness, really, because he came out. None of us had really heard from him before, but we saw him last week, and he was really, really impressive, and really did give Jarno Opmeer a hard time. And it did look at one stage that he might actually win the Canadian Grand Prix on his first visit, and I think he took many by surprise, didn't he, Jack?
Yeah, he certainly did. He did win that race on track. By the smallest of margins. Remember the finish line. If there was no penalties involved, it would have been the best finished ever in ORL history. But unfortunately, he just lost it on penalties now. But there is talk I'm hearing that the drivers are now coming out on Inters because they're hearing that there's going to be a wet race. So they're getting some practice in now. So qualifying's all not lost, but the battle for pole is certainly over. That's Jarno Opmeer and James Baldwin on the front row. But there is, I believe, going to be a wet race in store for us.
Well, that's going to be very interesting indeed, and I can imagine certainly will change a lot of the plans that these drivers may have gone in for in today's race. I mean, certainly not many people tend to practice their wet laps. Generally, everything like hot laps, for example, are generally set on dry circuits. On the F1 game, as we now see Alessio Di Capua now making his way around the next right-hander in the prancing horse of the Ferrari, and he certainly seems to be the man to garner some points respectability for the Ferrari team, and got to say, very impressed with him. Another man we can welcome back again is Danny Moreno, and as well as Tomek Peradzik, who makes his way around the track. Impressive again himself at Canada, and a great recovery after spinning around the first corner in the early laps. And Tomek looking for redemption here, and I got to say, he did well to recover the positions he did at Canada. Certainly one you would expect to grab a podium eventually, because he has been in amongst it. I know he's trying to chase his first race win, and he certainly bags loads of potential. Maybe the rain will do that for him, Jack.
Yeah, arguably, Tomek should have won in Canada without the accident. He would have been in prime position because he didn't pick up a single penalty. throughout that whole race. He was the only driver to do so. So Tomek has a lot of potential in him. So we'll see what he's able to do. He's in a decent spot, P6 on the grid. Teammate James is a P2 at the moment. But we'll wait and see how he's able to get on in the race. If he can keep as consistent as he normally does, he could well be on for a solid podium finish there as well. So still 5 minutes left of this session. So I don't think the rain is going to stop, or the track's not going to dry up in time. But I'm not going to get the normal finish to qualifying that we're used to. The mad dash to the finish, not going to quite have that today. Drivers just out practicing their wet lines.
Absolutely, and we're just riding on board with who we believe to be Nicholas Longate. Of course, like Jack was saying, these drivers are not allowed to use their names, or can't use their names while they're using the esports build for the Pro Series season. Nicholas Longate, of course, will be donning the name Chromatique for this race. Currently in P7 on the classifications. Vitality Babyface in P9 his teammate. That's Fabrizio Donoso Delgado. As we know, see Chromatic now make his way. Nicholas Longate down the long Mistral stretch, heading down towards what will be the semi-chicane. Right in between between the two parts, obviously halfway through the Mistral stretch, they have that chicane. Obviously take it out usually for the GT races, Jack. They tend to remove that chicane.
Yeah, they just use that chicane to slow the single seaters down a bit, because they absolutely fly down towards that right-hander. So they want to avoid massive high-speed accidents in the right-hander, people going side by side. But a lot of people not a fan of that chicane. I don't mind it too much, but there you go. Actually, we forgot to mention as well, home Grand Prix for Longay and for Colligon as well. I'm sure we've got one more French driver in here as well, but definitely a home race for both of those guys. They'll be wanting to do well.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, obviously Nicholas Longate, already a race winner this season. He took victory at the Vietnamese Grand Prix, and he looked good to actually try and win it at the Vietnam Grand Prix in the F1 Esports Pro Series as well. He was very impressive, and it looked to carry the form that he had in ORL into the Pro Series. He could have he could have very much won that Vietnam Grand Prix in the Pro Series. He was very unlucky after getting pole position in the first two Pro Series events, and certainly does look like a very high prime candidate for a race win in the F1 Esports Pro Series. But we will wait and see. Of course, he's got a lot of battling to do against heavy juggernauts such as Jana Watmere, James Baldwin in there, of course, Danny Moreno, and of course as many others. Obviously, still yet to see from Alessio Di Capua, of course, a candidate for the future, no doubt. And of course, let's not forget as well, we've got Matthias Colligon in the Mercedes, who unfortunately didn't manage to get out on time while the track was dry. Therefore, he is currently at the back of the field, as we're now riding on board with him, heading into Sector 3. And certainly Matthias Colligon looked to be very quick at the start of the ORL season. He has been in and out recently, obviously due to other prior commitments, but it's good to see him back in the Black Arrow, though, Jack, and certainly looks to be a force to be reckoned with, albeit starting from the back of the grid today, not ideal.
No, absolutely not ideal. Remember, in Bahrain, won that race on track. Again, lost it on penalties. A lot of people have fallen victim to penalties this season. So I think there's work to do for a lot of people to just tidy up the off tracks. I think that's another key part for people to do. But I think Tom 97 is going to be well happy if he's able to out qualify Colligan. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say, he's managed to break into the 139s, going ahead of Falcon Nardi. Tom 97 just ahead of him as well. Tom 97, it's good to see him out on circuit. I know we spoke about him before, but obviously this will be a very true indicator of what his pace is like. Obviously, without the rain, it probably would be a little bit better, so we can actually see him on a dry track and how he manages to cope with the pressure of some of these very, very quick drivers out on track. Obviously, we see a lot of them every week in, week out. Jana Watmere, without surprise, still holding on to that P1 spot. James Baldwin, he's out on a lap as well. On the Inters, having a practice, just off track at the moment, obviously letting others through. But James Baldwin racing in the British GT3 series as well, and he's been impressive in the real world of racing as well, Jack. I can imagine, obviously, I know we've spoken to him about it before, but trying to manage an esports career and a pro driving career, I mean, that's something to juggle enough, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's you've got to find time. Like, which do you prioritize? You prioritize the real life, or do you prioritize the esports? Of course, you're going to prioritize the real life, at all costs, because you want to give validation to sim racing, you know. But yeah, so far he's absolutely done that. James has done immensely well in the British GT series. Of course, under the helm of Team Jensen. So there's no better team to be in than under the helm of Jensen Button, no less.
No, not at all. And Jensen Button's team Rocket Motorsport, obviously not Team Rocket in association with Pokemon. That's actually just Team Rocket Motorsport. That's Jensen Button's GT racing team. To be interesting to see that. And incidentally, of course, we've got the Extreme E Series coming soon as well. And of course, Lewis Hamilton, who broke the all-time F1 wins record here today. He's got a team entering that league, or that series as well. Not to mention Nico Rosberg has joined the field too. So again, we're going to see a Hamilton-Rosberg fight. I know we were discussing that earlier on, Jack, and how funny it'll be to see those guys sort of tussle again. Maybe this time for a constructors battle between them. Hopefully there'll be no fist fighting in the pit lane.
Yeah, well, guess who else has an Extreme E team? Veloce.
Yes.
So wait, so Hamilton versus Rosberg versus Veloce. Ready to see that?
Emperor Palpatine will be making a presence in the Extreme E series, but yeah, no, it's going to be great to see.
Execute Order 44.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see how they cope with that new series. I'm for one, I'm very excited about it. It's very different. And I think it's about time we had something different as well. It's a great opportunity to test something new cars, a new power units, and of course new tracks. Very much natural reserve tracks. Obviously promoting the obviously the resources that the country or the world relies on, and stuff that we don't really want to be burning, like fossil fuels, things like that. And obviously trying to retain the rainforests, etc. And natural preservation, it's all about, Jack. Natural preservation. That's the terminology I'm looking for. But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what comes of the Extreme E Series. But for today, it's all about F1 esports. We've got the guys out here on track now. They're starting to retire, so very shortly we're bringing the end to the classifications. But it's made apparent, that's for sure, Jarno Watmir is going to be your P1 sitter. James Baldwin in P2. VSR Corney P3. Nicholas Matteo P4. And we've got Danny Moreno P5, Tomek Paradzik in P6, Chromatic in P7, Alessio Di Capua there in P8, and we've got Fabrizio Donoso Delgado then further down as the drivers now begin to retire. We've reached the end of qualifying now, folks. We'll go through the entire classifications for you now. Will not be a second. This is your official driver order. Veloce, Jarno Watmir, P1 for the Alfa Romeo Sauber Esports team. They will be pleased. James Baldwin, P2. VSR Corney, P3. Nicholas Matteo, P4. Danny Moreno, P5. Tomek Paradzik, P6. Chromatic, that's Nicholas Longe, P7. Alessio Di Capua in P8. Vitality Babyface, that's Fabrizio Donoso, P9. The Chinese F1 esports champion Tianyu Tiang is in P10 for Haas. Ruben Vallejo in P11. Formula Kevin in P12. Mode Sweat P13. Ben Zabo P14. Mr. Anchor P15. Camel Com on P16. And Tom97 P17. Veloce Ace P18. Lucas UK P19. Falcon Nardi rounds off the grid in P20. We'll be right back with you, folks, but first a message from our sponsors. Welcome back, folks. We are just waiting for the lobby to set up. Incidentally, we've got ourselves a dry race. Unbelievable. All the drivers were anticipating a wet race. We have just turned on and gone into the paddock. We're actually seeing the sunlight all across the Paul Ricard circuit. Jack, just how much is that going to twist the whole strategy system again? Because that's unbelievable.
Ooh. Oh, I like strategy twist-ups. So let's see who's starting on what, because they qualified in the dry. It then turned to a wet session. So I think the tyres that they did their first lap on is the tyres they're starting on. And yes, Tomek Paradzik set his lap on the medium tires. Anyone from 6th and lower will qualify on the medium tires. So 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th on mediums, the first 5 qualified on soft tires. So there's a huge mix-up in strategy, but unusually, only the top 5 on softs, the rest on mediums. There are 4 drivers on the hards. Camel Common, Matthias Colligan, Lucas UK, and Falconardi on the hard tires. So we've got 3 different strategies on track right now, and I love it.
This is absolutely brilliant, folks. We're going to be seeing, well, we don't know what we're going to be seeing. That's the beauty of it. We're going to be seeing strategies all across the grid, as Jack has said. We're seeing all the drivers now start to warm up those tyres. The majority of them, which is something you very rarely see, on medium compounded tyres at the start. Usually, if you're going down from P10, you generally see the mediums out and about. The top 10 tend to don the softs. But we're seeing Tomek and Chromatic, of course, Nicholas Longue, Alessio Di Capua, Vitality Babyface, that being Fabrizio Donoso on mediums as well, and Tian Yu Tang as well on the mediums for the Haas team. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys articulate their way around this circuit, given the fact that the softs are only between Ps 1 and 5. Expect battles between Veloci, Arno Otmir, James Baldwin, Corny, Matteo, and Moreno. We're going to be seeing a real twist amongst them lot. I'd imagine they'll probably go clear, and we'll start seeing battles between the likes of Tomek Peradzik, Nicholas Longue, Alessio, and of course Fabrizio Donoso. And of course, let's find out and see what Tian Yu Tang is all about as well. Of course, Chinese esports champion. But Jack, have you got any tips for us? Because this is absolute madness.
Well, it tends to be that the alternate strategy is favoured. So we've got about, I don't know how many drivers on the alternate strategy. So any one of them could win it. But then again, the top 5 need to break away and go if they want to have any chance of this. This is going to be so intriguing. One of the most intriguing races in store for you today.
Absolutely, and the drivers are now whittling their way up onto their grid positions. We now wait for the off as the lights are about to go red and out again. The green flag's being waved across the order. And any moment now, folks, we'll be ready and raring to go. Here we go. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, the 5th light! And it's pedal to the metal. Go, 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 go! Jarno Otmir gets away well on the inside. James Baldwin having a little look down the outside of the Dutchman. Behind him, battling, Fiasar, Corny, and Danny Moreno, who booms down the inside there of the Red Bull as they make their way around turn 1. Danny Moreno snatches P3. Corny down to P4. Nicholas Matteo battling now with the Red Bull. Corny in jeopardy as they come round towards the next left-hander. A little rough and tumble there as they head round the next left-hander. Round the next right. Then being round the Virage Santa Born now, but it's going to be the Alfa Romeo making his way up to P4, but Jarno Otmir is streaking ahead. What a start, Jack.
Yeah, unfortunately, instant for Formula Kevin down the back. He's now facing the wrong way, but he's got back going again. So Otmir, Baldwin got an amazing getaway, but just Otmir managed to get away in the traction zone there with Danny Moreno. Great start, P3 now. Matteo, Corny didn't get away well. He's on the back of Matteo now. Peradzik now, this is his opportunity on the alternate strategy, but he's also got two he's got some serious contenders behind him. He's got Longue, Donoso, and Di Capua all on the same strategy. This is a big opportunity for Peradzik. He needs to go with these guys now.
He does. He's not that far behind either. Half a second between him and VSR Corny. That's the difference between the softs and medium runners right now. We saw the medium tyres today at Portugal in the real life F1 race, and they were extremely good. Better than the softs in many ways. Now it's all about Tomek now. If he can produce the same sort of pace on the mediums as what the guys on the softs are doing, that'll give him a great chance through towards the second half of this Grand Prix. Chromatic in P7. Nicholas Longue leading around his teammate, that being Fabrizio Donoso. Both of them trying to stay in the slipstream in order to try and sort of further their chances in this race. Of course, if you can keep the pace going, as we now see Mr. Anker now doing battle with Tian Tang, and indeed he gets through and gets into P10. Tian Yu Tang dropping down to P11 for the Haas team. In behind him, you got Mode Sweat trying to gain on him as well. That's 2:10 separating those two. The Red Bull trying to get up into the top 10 as well to join his teammate VSR Corny. But incredible to see some of the moves being made already on a track that doesn't really offer much in the way of overtakes. Mainly, it's all about the DRS when it activates in lap 3, but currently no changes really as of yet. Jarno Otmir still leading the charge.
Yeah, Mr. Anka is up 5 positions from where he started, already into the points. Moat Sweat has engaged Moat Sweat. He's gone past Tian Yutang into the chicane. He's got that done and stopped on the brakes nicely. Camel Common now is the next one to line him up. He's on the hard compound strategy. Tomek Bradzik already falling out of DRS of the top 5. Corny just breaking away. So Tomek now has started his own train of the medium runners. He's got Longue, Donoso, Di Capua. Mr. Anka is not too far off them either. So he's going to be forming that train now. But now Paradzik needs to keep his head, because this could be down the line. This could be the battle for the net race lead. He needs to keep his head.
Absolutely. Just needs to hold on. Stay in the race. As I always say, take your medicine. It's going to be Tomek Paradzik in P6 being chased by Nicolas Longue, Chromatique, as they round the final corner, that being the Virage DuPont. Heading down the stretch now. DRS will become active on this lap, folks, as we're now seeing Tomek Paradzik trying to hold off the rampant Nicolas Longue, driving at his home track here today. In behind him, Fabrizio Donoso. In behind him, Alessio Di Capua, who is now joining the fray. They're now making their way around the next right-hander. And indeed, the Renault will get his chance down the long stretch, that being the Mistral Straight, because Tomek will be in jeopardy as they make their way round the next left, coming round towards the Virage du Camp. You can just see there Nicolas Longue in his cockpit trying to gun down on the hapless McLaren. Doesn't have a lot of opportunity here, Tomek, to actually hold off the Frenchman Nicolas Longue, because of course this stretch is known to pick drivers apart, as we can now see Nicolas trying to close up there on the McLaren of Tomek Paradzik as they make their way down towards the next chicane. It won't be happening this time for Nicolas, but he's just staying on the back end. He can be patient, still early days. Lap 3:27, long way to go, Jack.
Yeah, he doesn't want to overtake. He wasn't using any ERS down the back straight there. He was just keeping in DRS. Now, so he'll be saving his ERS and going for the attack when he wants to. So for right now, he's just using Tomek to save energy, save ERS, save the tyres as much as he possibly can. But obviously, the tyres are not going to have the best of times, stuck in the dirty air. But crucially, Jarno Watmere breaking DRS on James Baldwin. And James is now under a little bit of pressure from one Danny Moreno in the Merc.
Yeah, I mean, how vital could that be, folks? It's going to be absolutely unbelievable. Of course, Jarno Watmere's got a huge amount of pressure on his hands here. Of course, James Baldwin, though, I'd say pressure. He's dropped back to 1.2 seconds, so Jarno not really under pressure right now. But obviously, through the race, strategy can pull things apart. But we're now seeing Tomek in P6 still, holding off that of Nicolas Longue. Of course, Nicolas is trying to be patient here, and I think he's doing the right thing. He's just waiting for the right moment, of course. And these esports drivers, they know exactly what they're doing. They practice, they prep for races such as this, as he makes his way down towards the next right-hander. And indeed, as they do so, you can see that as they make their way around the Virage de la Hotel into the Virage du Camp, still Tomek leading this contingent of cars here. Tom 97 overtaking Camel Common, moves up to P14. So a great start from Tom 97, Jack, because he started around about, I think it was P18, wasn't it?
Yeah, let's have a look at the position change for him, actually. And yeah, he's finishing it. He's started 18th on the grid, so good job for Tom. Common trying to come back at him as well, but he's also got Lucas UK, and I think Nicolas Longue has just passed Tomek Paradzik, so he's made the move, and he's now using overtake to stay in front of Paradzik if he possibly can. Now, I think Paradzik will probably stick behind and save his ERS to try and drag himself through, but he's coming through the long right-hander. He's going to have a look to the inside. They can't afford to battle too much, because this is a battle potentially for the podium slots and for the race win at the end. But as well, Danny Moreno getting ever closer to the back of James Baldwin's McLaren. But the other McLaren, Tomek Paradzik, now just being overtaken by Longue, and Donoso's lining him up next.
Certainly is, and Donoso won't be long. He's only just over 0.3 of a second behind that of the McLaren. Tomek Paradzik in a little bit of jeopardy here, in between a Renault sandwich. At the moment, Nicolas Longue in P6 after that great overtake on Tomek Paradzik, making use of the DRS going down the stretch of the Mistral Straight. We can now see Nicolas Longue, no DRS for that man, because of course he is not within a second of VSR Corny, but nonetheless he's got Tomek Paradzik closing up. He's not able to make a move yet, is Tomek, because of course Nicolas Longue managing to hold off the advances of that McLaren. We saw earlier as well, Veloce Hayes, Matthias Collegon move up a place as well into P15. Great work from him indeed after starting towards the back end of the field. But currently, no change as of yet. It's still Nicolas Longue in P6. Tomek Paradzik trying to close the gap. And indeed, he might get his chance here as the DRS will become open for Tomek now. The Polish drivers, they can make their way down towards the next chicane. And Danny Moreno has overtaken James Baldwin into that very chicane as well, Jack. As James Baldwin now looks for the undercut, but he cannot do it. A great overtake from Danny Moreno, the Spaniard, back with a vengeance here in France. Looking very potent indeed.
Yeah, easy overtake for him. He lined it up in the first sector, used the DRS, used the overtake, and used the overtake on the exit of the chicane to stay in front as well. Baldwin didn't come back in him. He didn't feel that he could. So Moreno's now got full opportunity to chase down Jarno Opmeer if he possibly can, because he seemed to have the pace over James. So we'll see if he now can put some pressure on. Paradzik still sticking with Longe. And if the guys up front keep fighting, of course, Longe could possibly catch Corney, Matteo, Baldwin. So this is going to be a really interesting race. Of course, we obviously need to see how long the softs are going to last, because they don't tend to last very long on any particular track. So the strategy battle is going to be very interesting, because the whole field is pretty much still nose to tail. So a pit stop is going to cost you a lot of places.
Certainly will. Just looking further down, Alessio Di Capua now starting to rise up on Fabrizio Donoso. And of course, this man really impressed us last week in Canada. He was really quick and provided Jarno Opmeer with a few headaches as well. It looked like at one point he might have a chance of winning the Canadian Grand Prix, as we now see him trying to close up on Fabrizio Donoso, making his way around the Virage du Camp now into the Virage de la Sainte-Borne. And as they do so, you can see there the two Ferraris coming together, using each other as sort of like a DRS tug along. And certainly Mr. Anker is going to be very gracious of that fact, as we can now see ahead. Fabrizio Donoso trying to close up on Tomek Paradzik. Tomek as well closing up on Nicolas Longe, who incidentally overtook him at this very straight as they make their way into the next chicane. And very soon they'll make their way down towards the second half of the Mistral, straight down towards the Corp de Signier. And as they do so, Nicolas Longe 1.6 seconds back from VSR Corney. But like you say, Jack, the question is, how long will the softs last? Because of course, that could decide the fate of a lot of these drivers in this race. Strategy has never been more important.
Yeah, exactly. And Longe took about 0.4 of a second out of Corney on that lap. It's just coming down very, very quickly. The gap at this very point in the last lap was 2 seconds. Now it's down to 1.3. So the softs are starting to go off as well. Moreno just nipping away at the gap. And speaking of which, Nicolas Matteo and VSR Corney are into the pit lane, because the position changes because there's a weird pit entry here. It's in the last corner. So they'll pop ahead and come in. But Nicolas Matteo and VSR Corney both the first drivers to pit, and they're going to go onto the medium tyre.
We certainly are, and this means now that James Baldwin now in P3, of course, after Danny Moreno's overtake, and these three still no change at the top end. Of course, in behind, Nicolas Longe is now moved up into P4, Tomek Paradzik in P5, and it just means now that the collective of medium front runners can now move their way up the placings. Only 6 laps currently attuned on those tyres, as we can now see them making their way around the next right-hander. Fabrizio Donoso dropping back slightly from Tomek Paradzik. Of course, Tomek benefiting from the DRS on Nicolas Longe, and Alessio Di Capua, of course, another half second back from Fabrizio Donoso as well. But currently, no overtakes being made just as yet, but Tomek getting very close once again to Nicolas. You've got to think that maybe Nicolas might be in trouble here, though I've got to say that gap between Nicolas Longe and James Baldwin looks to be coming down slightly, and just as I see that, it's back up to 1.9 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm expecting Jarno in this lap to respond to Nicolas, because I don't think that the softs are going to last much longer. And I expect we'll just see as he comes around the last sector. Is he going to box this lap and put on a set of the medium compound tyre, because Moreno's almost within DRS range. We'll see what he's going to do on this lap, and he's going to stay out by the looks of it. Does anybody else do anything? No, but it looks like they're going to keep going for a few more laps. They feel the tyres are okay for now. But James Baldwin sticking with Danny Moreno, using him as a tow. But Danny Moreno is very, very dangerously close to the DRS range. But he's almost out of ERS.
Yeah, and I think Alessio Di Capua has a problem. He's AIing at the moment. It looks very, very suspect here for the Ferrari team. And indeed, Mr. Anker has had to go past, albeit it was quite dodgy. Obviously, we've seen it in the past that AIs can be a little bit aggressive on this game. And indeed, it looks to be the AI of Alessio Di Capua. Di Capua's car is actually a little bit aggressive on his teammates. So Mr. Anker very lucky to get through there unscathed. Manages to do so, though, and obviously it's in the team's interest for him to certainly tank on, because, of course, Alessio, if he stays in AI mode...
Coming back.
And he is coming back. He's coming back with a vengeance, in fact. Alessio Di Capua back again as they make their way down towards the next chicane. A nice overtake indeed. It looks like he's back in the car, but certainly a hesitant moment there for the Ferrari team. But that has indeed dropped him back by about a second to Fabrizio Donoso, and that will not be a welcome, in fact, for the Ferrari team going into lap 8 of 27, or into lap 9, should I say.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as Anker got past Alessio, DRS opened straight on the overtake button and just flew past, no problems whatsoever. I tell you what, Nicholas Longay's caught Baldwin. Look at this, the softs are going off very quickly. Longay's coming now with James Baldwin on the inside line into the last sector. I'm sure Baldwin's going to head to the pit lane. I think all the top 3 have gone in. Yes, they have. So the top 3, no, actually no, Otmere has stayed out. So Moreno and Baldwin are going for the undercut on Jarno Otmere.
Yes, Jarno Otmere finding extended length on those tyres. He must be conserving them well. Nicholas Longay, 1.7 seconds. He's closing the delta time on the Dutchman as they make their way around the next right-hander, heading down towards the semi-straight, which will be leading them down towards the Virage de la Hotel. And indeed, Nicholas Longay being chased by Tomek Peradžić. Tomek looks impressive at this moment in time, albeit he was overtaken by Nicholas Longay before. He has not left the rear end of that Renault since the start of this race, or since the overtake was made, as they make their way down towards the Mistral stretch. You can see there Jarno, 0.7 of a second closed by Nicholas Longay as they make their way down towards the chicane right in the centre of the Mistral stretch. And you can see there Fabrizio coming in as well. A look by Tomek Peradžić going into that very chicane as they make their way through. And indeed, it looks like Longay has the straight line speed on the Dutchman as they make their way down towards the Corbe de Signé. And indeed, Jarno Otmere looks like a sitting duck right now. He's surely got to pit this lap because he will be only jeopardising his own race as Mo Sweat moves ahead of Mr. Anker.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Otmere in this lap. It is getting darker around the circuit as well. I did hear they were expecting some rain in this race, but Nicholas Longay now, here we go, between himself here. Look at the understeer from Otmere. I think Longay's going to get past anyway. So Longay's going to get past anyway. I'm going to see Jarno peel into the pit lane anyway on the right-hand side. So Otmere is going to come into the pit lane for his stop. So Nicholas Longay is going to lead his home Grand Prix with Tomek Peradžić right behind him and Fabrizio Donoso right behind him.
Yeah, you get the feeling Jarno might have left that a little bit late, but we'll soon see how this works towards the end. I mean, of course, Nicholas Longay is still yet to pit, so is Tomek. In fact, the entirety, most of the drivers on this track have actually still yet to pit, as we're now watching Nicholas Longay make his way around this next right-hander, being followed by Tomek Peradžić, who is literally 3.5 tenths, so now 3 tenths behind, and indeed looks very dangerous indeed, does the Polish driver, as they make their way around the next left-hander towards the Virage du Camp, heading round towards the Virage de la Santa Vorm now, and indeed Nicholas Longay is going to be at the mercy here of the orange McLaren as they make their way around this little left-handed kink down the stretch now, the Mistral straight, heading down past the DRS line. It opens up the rear flap now for Tomek Peradžić. DRS is going to be useful as they make their way down towards the next chicane. Will he go for a lead manoeuvre? No, hanging off there. Does Tomek Peradžić going to be patient, wait his turn as they make their way down round this little chicane.
It's raining.
And indeed it's raining. Jack, it's raining. The droplets are showing, and indeed you get the feeling that maybe the longer it works out, these medium tyre drivers might be in with a better chance.
Yeah, Jarno Otmere, he's been totally screwed over because, look, the undercut has worked for Moreno and Baldwin, and now the rain's just fallen and he's just come into the pit lane, so the medium runners just need to stay out and wait to switch on to the intermediates. This is the battle for the lead now.
It is, and Nicholas Longay with all the advantage, so's Tomek. In fact, you can count on the top 3 at the moment. This is a great day for Renault, potentially, because you've got to include Fabrizio Donoso in that fact, because he's only just under 0.5 of a second behind Tomek Peradžić. Oh, what's the weather done to this French Grand Prix, as we now see Nicholas Longay leading the way here. Tomek Peradžić in P2, further back, Fabrizio Donoso, then the gap to Alessio Di Capua, who of course AI'd earlier on, but the recovery he's made, despite that fact, has been nothing short of impressive there by that man. So certainly not out of the question that he'll enter the fray in this Grand Prix. Further down, Tom 97 in with a great chance as well. He's only just under half a second between him and the Chinese esports champion Tian Yu Tang, who's in the Haas car, of course, subbing in for Simon Vigang this weekend. Ben Zabo up in P7 as well. The top 10 all within a great chance because none of them are pitted yet, and it looks to me that we could be seeing the wet compound of tyres come through, as here comes Tomek down towards the chicane. The McLaren, boom, into P1 goes Tomek and tags back on Nicholas Longay. A great move indeed, and certainly redemption tastes sweet for the Polish driver, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a perfect opportunity. We're literally talking about what his chances would be. Would the rain help him? It certainly looks like it at this point in time. Otmere was going to try. He's just got past Danny Moreno in the background. He's on a he was on a dry 2-stop strategy, and he's got to now side his way through. Look at this from Jarno Otmere. This is perfect example of what he needs to do. He needs to carve his way past these guys, past Corney, past Matteo next, then Baldwin. Baldwin needs to get a move on here because he needs to lose as little time in the pit lane as possible when the DRS disabled sign comes up. That is the key point. for the intermediate, and Tomek is in already. He's gone for the inters.
Yeah, Tomek is in, no doubt, for the intermediate tyres. Longue's in as well. Mode Sweat's come in on the outside. Yano Watmere trying to challenge his teammate. He knows that there's a problem. He knows that the rain is falling. He needs to try and dispatch as many as possible. Close up on James Baldwin. The strategies have totally been warped here at the French GP. And indeed, we're seeing Yano dive into the pit lane. Everyone's diving in. Inters being worn across the field without a shadow of a doubt. It's going to be carnage. The race, it's all kicking off here in lap 12 of 27, Jack.
Yeah, and James Baldwin staying out. DRS disabled. That's the crossover point for the wet weather. And you can see now, Jan Watmere has come in straight away for the intermediate tyres. Nardi is in for the intermediates. So there's a couple of guys still left out on track. So Nicholas Longue is leading. But look at the rain. He's fighting the car. He's sideways through every single corner. And this could cost him a huge amount of time. Tomek Paradzik is going to take the lead of this race versus Donoso. This is and who's in P3? Mode Sweat. He's engaged Mode Sweat for certain.
He does indeed. Just look at James Baldwin. We're riding on board with him now, and just look at he's going to try and make his way around this circuit in these conditions. Now, I can imagine the chicane is going to be very tricky as he comes towards it now, and James Baldwin just trying to hug every single apex, literally scale his way around this French track, and it's going to cost him a load of time. You know, seeing Tomek Paradzik come into the fray, Nicholas Matteo is still on medium tyres, and he's holding up that of Fabrizio Donoso, giving Tomek a little bit of a chance here. Nicholas Longue, maybe not so wise to stay out on track on mediums. That's not ideal. Tomek Paradzik, he might have been handed this race, Jack.
We've got to keep in mind as well, the rain could even get worse, and they may have to switch to full wet tyres. He's catching his teammate. Look how quickly he's catching James at this point. So we're going to see Nicholas Longue into the pit lane now. He's in for intermediates. Anke is in. Lucas UK will come in, and Matthias Colligan will also come into the pit lane. There's been a couple of drivers getting penalties for exceeding track limits on the pit entry. But as we peel in now, James Baldwin into the pit lane. See, they all ran wide coming through. They're getting penalties now, left, right, and centre. Colligan's got a 5-second one, but here we go. Nicholas Longue has just bolted on the side of the intermediates, but now your new race leader, Tomek Paradzik, and then P2, Fabrizio Donoso, P3, Mode Sweat, and P4 will be Alessio Di Capua. Where is Nicholas Longue going to emerge? He's going to come out, crucially, in front of Bent Zabo, who's now in P6. So Longue's not out of it, but he's got to pull 3 seconds on the guys in front. But Tomek Paradzik, masterclass strategy.
Absolutely phenomenal piece of driving and strategy use by Tomek Paradzik in P1 now. Fabrizio Donoso in track as well in P2, in with a great chance of getting a win himself, and certainly looking to do just that. There's Nicholas Longue just coming around this next right-hander. It was damage limitation at this stage. He left it maybe a little bit too long, but only one of the Renault drivers could pit at that one time. He unfortunately had to wait a little bit longer, and that of course has left him down into P5. Alessio Di Capua is next on his list. As you can now see, Alessio has already managed to tag back on Mode Sweat. He's within a second. Of course, no DRS this time, but just consider that the fact that Alessio can handle the track extremely well. We know what he's like when he's taking corners. He can hit every apex here, and he's now chasing Mode Sweat. And indeed, in with a great chance himself of grabbing a podium once again, as we can now see Tomek Paradzik leading the contingent around, and he's already 1.1 seconds clear of Donoso. Tomek in with a great chance here, Jack.
Yeah, he's just got to hold his nerve. We know he's very capable of just keeping it between the white lines. Di Capua has a 3-second penalty, so keep that in mind. It was very crucial in Canada, and it's going to be crucial today, I reckon. So now he's got Mode Sweat lined up, so let's see if he's going to be able to dispatch him. He's very, very quick here, so let's see. Through the last corner, just the understeer, how slow they have to take it compared to the dry. Now, here we go. Di Capua, does he get the exit? He's in overtake mode. He's pushing towards turn 1, but he's not able to get quite close enough. Anke is in. I think that is going to be for retirement. Mr. Anke, the first retirement of the race for Ferrari, but we see he still has Alessio Di Capua out front, and let's see if he can score some good points for the team. We know, and just to keep an eye on as well, we know a man who's very good in the wet, Bent Zabo. Watch out for him.
Yeah, of course, former champion Bent Zabo in P6. Some of you may know him as Photon, and of course he is one to keep an eye on, that's for sure. He's in P6, and once again, a very reliable race by Bent Zabo. Alessio Di Capua in P4. Once again, Ferrari one-legged. It's almost a carbon copy of what happened in Canada, because Mr. Anke retired from that race as well, leaving Alessio Di Capua left to fight amongst the top end. And here we go again, he says, as they come down towards the next chicane. Indeed, he's still right in behind Mode Sweat now in the Red Bull, and the prancing horse of the Ferrari Ferrari once again looking to get more points to add to their constructors' hopes for this season. Of course, they were bottom. The points that they earned last week at Canada certainly went a long way. They got 18 points for their constructors' hopes this season. And as you can see, they're currently in P9, Racing Point at the bottom of the championship right now. Their main man, Tom97, who's subbing in for them today, currently in P9. But at this moment in time, Tomek still leads. He's a second still above Fabrizio Donoso. In behind, Mode Sweat being chased by Alessio Di Capua, who are currently riding on board with. And indeed, it's going to be a straight fist fight between this bunch. No DRS is going to be used here now, folks. It's all a case of who can be better out on track. It's going to be a test of strength. Who's got it in them to secure the race win?
There's still a long way to go in this race. The rain could still get worse. It could stop raining. Imagine if it stopped raining, and we'll see what happens there. But I think Donoso, I think he's starting to put some pressure on a little bit now, because he's starting to just bring it under the second a little bit. But I reckon Tomek is also managing. He's managing his ERS. He's managing the tyres very well at this point. So plenty still to come in this race, but for now, the battle for the lead is Donoso versus Tomek Peradzik. Jarno Watmer down in P11 at this moment. So he started on pole position, remember, so he's P11. The man who started second is P15, and the man who started third is P16. So that's how quickly you can switch, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it just goes to show how strategy, situations, down to weather conditions can really affect things in a race format. And still, Alessio Di Capua trying to close up on Mode Sweat. You can see Nicolas Longuet in the background trying to garner on the back end of the Ferrari. Of course, he's 3.5 seconds down at the moment on that of Alessio Di Capua. And currently, the top remains unchanged. Tomek Peradzik still leading the way, though, looking for that very first win of the season. And just how good will it feel for him to do it right here? But Donoso has broken the second gap. He is now whittling down now and chasing Tomek Peradzik, who might have had a few hairy moments coming into Sector 3, as we now see the Renault of Fabrizio Donoso Delgado. Tomek Peradzik not quite hitting the apexes as he would have liked, maybe feeling the pressure of the back of Donoso, knowing that he's getting closer and closer. You can see the Renault getting closer and closer to the back end of that McLaren as we speak, as they come around towards the final corner before they make their way down towards lap 16 of 27. And indeed, it looks like that Donoso might have a great chance here. He's got plenty of ERS. He's using it to his advantage. The overtake mode is on, and he's making a charge on the back end of Tomek Peradzik. But for how long can Tomek hold on to that P1? Like I said before, folks, test of strength is on. Who's going to be winning this French Grand Prix?
Yeah, because now Tomek has got to think about, I've got to manage ERS so I can defend against Donoso. Donoso is going to be also saving ERS to use. But remember, he has not got the benefit of DRS in the wet conditions. So that's going to aid Tomek, that he doesn't have a massive run down this next back straight. So Tomek's going to hope that it keeps raining and the DRS does not get re-enabled later in this race. If it stops raining, or if it gets worse, then it goes to full wet conditions. The Capua still stuck behind Mode Sweat at this point. Longuet is now 3 seconds off the back of the Capua, so that's not really changing. Jarno Watmer still P11, chasing after Lucas UK. Tom97 in the points in P9, driving very well.
Yeah, great start today for Tom97. Of course, his first race here in ORL, a race winner across many other leagues, and he's come here today, and he's in the top 10 in the points section, which is a great showing from him. We are hoping to see him next season to commit to a full drive. So let's see what he's all about here today. Obviously, it's great to see new drivers joining the league, of course, and experienced ones as well, ones that we know about, to test their strengths amongst the best in the world. As we're now seeing Tomek Peradzik still just over 0.8 of a second ahead of Fabrizio Donoso there in P2. As we're now seeing these two, they've been battling for a while now. In behind Alessio Di Capua as well, trying to close up on Mode Sweat. Half a second separate these two. Mode Sweat not taking the final pump corner very well, and that'll allow Alessio to open up the overtake if he can try and ride the back end of that Red Bull. It'll go a long way. He's currently 0.4 of a second in behind that of the Red Bull now as they make their way down towards the Ester Valerie now. And indeed, you can see the Red Bull's holding on to P3, but for how long will it be? Because that Ferrari is getting closer and closer. And I really do like the look of Alessio Di Capua. He's a great driver, a great up-and-comer, and you can firmly expect him to be tussling at the end of the race. He's just under, or just over 0.4 of a second, Jack. Looking promising.
Yeah, remember he's got the penalty that he's got to keep in his back pocket as well. He needs to pull 3 seconds. And right now he's going to lose P4 to Nicholas Longuet, who's within that 3 seconds. So now Longuet is starting to put some pressure on because they're battling here between Mo Sweat and Nicholas Longuet. So 2.4, and James Baldwin has just got one as well for the penalties. These guys cannot afford to get any penalties. So we need to keep an eye on, of course, all those penalties. But now Donoso is firmly sticking under that second barrier now. He's not dropped under it once this entire lap. And in the background, De Capua is getting very close to the back of Mo Sweat through the long right-hander. He's not going to be able to get alongside there, but he needs to be thinking about the turn number 1 now. And saving ERS for now. Mo Sweat doing an excellent job to hold on to P3. And that Red Bull, he gets a little out of shape on the exit there. But for now, he holds on. But De Capua is vying to get past. He needs to get past.
Yeah, he does need to get past indeed. He's pushing and prodding on the back of Mo Sweat now as they make their way around the next left-hander, this being the Virage de la Tour. Down towards now the Virage Dupont. I'm going to look down the inside as Alessio Di Capua. Remember, he eyed earlier on and that did cause him to lose a little bit of pace. But now he's back with a vengeance, riding on the back end of the Red Bull. And now he looks to make his move. The Prancing Horse here looking to make the auspicious P3 manoeuvre as they make their way down towards turn 1. Wheel to wheel here. But Mo Sweat sweats it out, holds on to P3. Alessio Di Capua left frustrated yet again. 2.5 tenths back. The Prancing Horse living to fight another day, Jack.
De Capua was sawing at the wheel, trying to keep it in a straight line. He's going to go for a dive. Here he goes down the inside on the Red Bull. There's going to be contact there. He does get in front. But I wonder, will that be looked at? Because I don't think De Capua actually made the corner. So he did make the overtake off track. I wonder, will that be looked at in the future? But he's got past nonetheless. But in that small little battle, look how much Nicholas Longuet closed up. He was 3 seconds back, George.
Yeah, Nicholas Longuet back as well in the run of things. He is currently 4.5 tenths behind Mo Sweat, so a great chance for Longuet now if he can try and get the overtake done on Mo Sweat. Of course, Alessio Di Capua, I'd imagine that move will be looked at. It was a little bit of a rough and tumble going into that right-hander, and indeed, it looked like he came off track as well, pushing Mo Sweat off slightly. I'm sure the stewards will be taking a little bit of interest into that manoeuvre as we now make our way through the latter stages of lap 18. Looking further up, of course, Tomek still leading the way. That gap of 9 tenths of a second seems to have solidified itself here in the, well, coming up towards the last stages of this Grand Prix. We are within the final 10 laps, folks. So Tomek in with a great chance now. We know what he's like. He can conserve his car, rarely gets penalties, so he looks in great shape right now in P1. And Donoso on for a good positive result to really cement his season as well, because he has struggled in the past. But great to see him at the top end, though, Jack.
Yeah, I'd like to point out actually the rain has got much heavier, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a switch to full wets. And actually Formula Kevin down in P19, he said screw it, I'm going on the full wets.
Well, you can't blame him. I mean, the rain, like you say, Jack, is coming down in buckets right now, so these drivers may have to execute a change in strategy. Once again, not that we haven't seen it already. We've seen loads of changes in strategy here today. Obviously, qualifying was enough, let alone what's been going on in the race. As now Nicholas Longuet tries to ride on the back of the Red Bull of Mo Sweat, and indeed he might get a chance here. Not quite making the move happen the way Alessio did at that very same corner, but as they make their way on the outset down towards what will be the Mistral Straight, and very soon they'll be making their way down towards that next chicane. Obviously no DRS, he's going to have to use the overtake button in order to execute any moves here. Is Nicholas Longuet as they come down towards that very same chicane now. And Mo Sweat trying to hold off Nicholas Longuet, and just at this moment in time not able to get anything done just yet is the Frenchman Longuet. Had to stay out a little bit longer than what he may have wanted to as they make their way down towards the next right-hander, and indeed he might get a chance here. The overtake is there working for him. A late manoeuvre down the inside, but Mo Sweat hanging on, makes the defensive approach. Very well done indeed, but a late move possible here for Longuet. Can't get it done. Making their way around this real twisting right-handed section. That being the double Troit de Poussey down towards what will be Virage de Bendor. Mo Sweat still hanging on. Running wide slightly does Nicholas Longuet, and that cost him around about 2-3 tenths of a second, and drops him back further. Not able to make the move happen on Mo Sweat. He needs to hit every apex if you want to make the overtake happen, and indeed Mo Sweat sweating it out, but he's still in P4, Jack.
Yeah, so he's still going to be stuck there, and is Nicholas Longuet right now. I think it's still not wet enough for the full wets because Formula Kevin is still dropping a lot of time. So for now, it's still intermediate conditions, but it could become very treacherous in these last 8 laps. as we tick towards the end of this race. And Donoso is just edging closer each lap. He's got within 0.6 of a second now. So full focus mode for Tomek Peradzik now.
It is. He's getting closer and closer. He's managed to edge in 0.3, and indeed now only 6.5 max on Tomek Peradzik as they make their way down this stretch now towards the next chicane. And indeed, he's trying to apply the overtake where necessary is Donoso as they come down now. Veloce Watmir now up into the top 10 places. He's overtaken Lucas UK. Of course, a podium, I think, is out of the question for the Flying Dutchman. But nonetheless, he is up in the top 10 in the points, which I'd imagine, given the circumstances, he could probably thank his lucky stars for that one, because the strategy just did not work for him here today. The weather certainly messed up things for the Dutchman. As you can see now, Vitaly Babyface, that being Fabrizio Donoso, rounding the next right-hander, getting closer to Tomek Peradzik. He's now within 0.3 of a second. Tomek in jeopardy, as you can now see him rounding the next right-hander, down towards the next left, that being the Virage de la Tour. Now, we're well within Sector 3, soon to be lap 21 of 27, currently lap 20 as they make their way down towards the next right-hander. This being, of course, the Corba de la Galaban. The Virage de la Tour is next as well, as you can now see these two gunning for the P1 spot. Tomek still hanging on for all he's worth, as you can now see Fabrizio Donoso now. Can he make the overtake happen here? He's got plenty of ERS as they make their way down towards that auspicious turn 1 corner. The S's, De La Valerie, as they do so. Tomek still holding on by the skin of his teeth. Here comes Donoso, got right in the curve there, hitting every apex, trying to close up on the Polish Tomek Peradzik as they head down the stretch now towards the Virage de la Hotel. Peradzik still holding on as best he can. Donoso, the Chilean driver, driving for Renault in the F1 Esports Pro Series, showing why he is ever reliable in race conditions such as these. He's mastered the wet track extremely well as they ram the next right now, round the Virage de la Santa Boom, coming down towards the Mistral stretch now. Tomek Peradzik still maintaining a 0.5 gap, but indeed Donoso with the overtake button can make things happen here as they come down towards that very same chicane. No move, he's not closing the gap just yet. Tomek still just about holding on to P1 here, Jack.
Yeah, he gets very close on the exit. Expect a burst of overtake from Peradzik to try and stay in front here, and he does indeed. He's on the overtake button immediately to try and stay in front of Donoso as they come along the long right-hander. No overtake used for Donoso yet. He's saving it. He's going to use it at the perfect opportunity right now. He's sticking behind. He's hoping for a mistake from Peradzik at this point, but there's not long left in this race. The rain's still coming down very heavy. Formula Kevin, by the way, switched back onto the intermediate, so he gave the wets a run. It's still not time yet, so I think we're going to see intermediate conditions right till the end of the race. But that means that we have this battle until the end of the race, and I'm not complaining, George.
No, not at all. Formula Kevin, indeed, those two stops have pretty much cemented his position in P19, that's for sure. Not an ideal day at the office for Formula Kevin in the AlphaTauri. But we're now seeing Vitaly Babyface now, or Vitality Babyface, sorry. That being the Fabrizio Donoso, making his way down towards turn 1. Still chasing Tomek Peradzik in the McLaren. Of course, this is for the race win, or the race lead at least for now. Lap 22 of 27, sorry. And as they do so, they're coming down towards the next right-hander, that being the Virage de la Hotel. And very soon they'll be around the Virage du Camp, heading into the Virage de la Santa Boom. And indeed, Tomek now still holding on, albeit by the skin of his teeth still. Donoso looking ever predatorial here as they make their way around the next right-hander. Out in the outset now, around this little left-handed kink, down towards the Mistral straight. Tomek Peradzik still holding on for now, but the overtake is being used by Fabrizio. Surely he's going to have a chance as they come down towards the next chicane. As they keep going, you can now see Tomek, he's making use of the straight line speed. I think that McLaren might be built more for straight line speed than what that Renault is, Jack.
Fabrizio doesn't want to overtake. He's not using any overtake down the straight. He's only using it on the exit to get a little kick and get out of the corner. And there's a penalty for Nicolas Longue. So that's not what he needed. He's fighting for the podium because remember, Alessio de Capua has a 3-second penalty. So right now, Moat Sweat is on the podium and Donoso getting very close to the back of Tomek Peradzik. He's edging closer little by little. But right now, Peradzik doing an excellent defensive drive. But I think Donoso is holding back. He's not using overtake. At any point, he tries to nip up the inside of that corner. Therefore, Tomek holds on for now. But I think there's an imminent attack from Donoso. Tomek is using overtake on the exit of every corner to try and stay in front. But how much longer can he get rid of the attack of Donoso, because Donoso vying for a win, a first win in a long time.
And I know he's been waiting very patiently. How cruel would it be if Donoso snatches it in the dying lap? So now in lap 23 of 27, 4 laps remaining here, folks. Squeaky bum time here at the French circuit, the Paul Ricard. It has been absolutely phenomenal. The strategies have really sent us into a maelstrom here in France. And certainly we're going to be seeing Tomek Peradžič and Donoso battling it out for the race win here at the end of this Grand Prix. Vitality babyface, Fabrizio Donoso, P2, currently 4.7 tenths in behind that of Tomek Peradžič. Literally nothing between them. You can't separate them. The gap is thinner than a fly's eyelash right now as they make their way around the next left-hander down the Mistral stretch once again. And he is using or trying to use the overtake button here again. Will he manage to close the gap? 3 tenths now between that of Tomek and Fabrizio as they come down towards the next chicane. And you get the feeling that Fabrizio is going to have to use all his racecraft here. And they're getting so close. Tomek literally riding on the front wing of that Renault as they do so. And Mode Sweat now being overtaken by Nicolas Longuet. They're going wheel to wheel on the outset of the chicane. The Red Bull and the Renault battling for all their worth now as they come down the stretch. No love lost between these two teams as we're now seeing Mode Sweat and Nicolas Longuet going in tandem around the right-hand side. Battle on track here as we're now seeing round the outside still going hammer and tongs around this outside. Mode Sweat still hanging on as best he can. Chromatic, Nicolas Longuet going deep here into the next left-hander. He's leaving nothing to chance as they make their way around the next left, down towards the next swinging right, and the battle is done. Nicolas Longuet is in P4, but what could that mean at the end of the race? Drama at the top end though, Jack.
Yeah, Donoso tried to nip down the inside. It didn't quite work. He had to fight the car, but just in that small space, Alessio De Capua pulled a second on them. So this is going to be another third car into the mix right here, because it's a pity that Alessio has a penalty, because he could fight for this race win. Now, it's not all said and done. He could still do this, George, but Donoso, he tried, but he couldn't do it.
No, I've got to say, he's looking like it's back to 3.5 tenths at least for now. Tomek still leading the way, just under half a second, separating these two. It's been absolutely phenomenal, folks. 3 laps remaining here in this auspicious race here at the Paul Ricard circuit. Tomek Peradžič still leading the charge. He has been the bridesmaid, but never the bride in terms of race wins here in ORL. But Tomek Peradžič, if he stays like this, he will lay claim to P1 here at the French Grand Prix as they come down towards the next chicane. The McLaren of Tomek now being eyed up by Fabrizio once again. These two have been nothing short of phenomenal, managing their tyres through this real edgy circuit given the wet conditions. It's been absolutely outrageous. In behind, Alessio De Capua making ground, as you say, Jack. That prancing horse is not yet done. Prancing all over the back of these two now. The battling that these two have been going through is allowing Alessio to come back into this race. And as you can see, Donoso riding on the back end of that McLaren as we make our way through Sector 3, Jack.
That's where he tried it a lap earlier and he made contact with Peradžič. He had to fight the car to keep it in the straight line, but look how close he's getting. He gets such better traction out of the corners, but Tomek just bursts of overtake on the exit just to make sure he stays in front. But Alessio De Capua, 1 point, nearly just a second behind. He's on the tail of these guys. This is now a 3-car fight for the win. Remember how close it was in Canada at the line, so now it's a 3-car fight for the race win. Remember the penalty for Alessio De Capua. That's going to put a spanner in the works for him. But the battle between Donoso with 3 laps to go versus Peradžič, who's going to come out on top?
It only takes one mistake, folks. One mistake in treacherous conditions. Ruben Vallejo and Tom 97 having a battle of their own. And indeed, Ruben Vallejo hanging on to P8. But we can't take our eyes off this current exchange between that of Peradžič, Donoso and De Capua as they make their way around the next left-hander. And indeed, Alessio has closed the gap. He's within 8 tenths of a second now. Now out to a second. But he's closing still without a shadow of a doubt on the back of Donoso's Renault as they do so now on the outset, heading down towards the Mistral stretch. You see there, the Ferrari has got a perfect view of what's going on in front of him now. Donoso trying to catch on with Tomek Peradžič as they make their way through the next chicane. Answers on a postcard, please, folks. Who's got this Grand Prix? Drivers of the day. Let's start voting as we now see Donoso eyeing up a move here on Tomek Peradžič. This has been absolutely phenomenal, Jack.
Oh, he just lost the rear coming out of the corner right there. He got very, very close to the back of Peradžič, and Peradžič just held his line, defended well. Full burst of overtake for Donoso through the long right-hander. Just Peradžič defends. He tried to hear a lap early and go for the undercut. Trying to get up the inside. He can't do it. He has to correct and keep himself behind. But that little move has just allowed Alessio De Capua to just close in a little bit more.
Yes, and of course, Fabrizio's going to be sleeping with one eye open here today because Alessio Di Capua is coming. He is coming. He is right on the back. He's got a perfect view of what's going on ahead of him. Donoso in P2, Tomek Paratic in P1. These three have been absolutely unbelievable given the conditions. And indeed, as they round the final corner, that being the Virage DuPont, they're about to start lap 26. 2 laps remaining, folks, as we can now see Donoso trying to catch Tomek Paratic in behind. Alessio Di Capua currently 7.5 tenths separating those two, as indeed Donoso using everything he's got to try and close down on this Polish driver, but Tomek has done everything right so far. His defending has been exquisite. He's holding on to P1. He is not letting this lead go. He's been waiting for this moment a long time, and Donoso sends it a little bit wide going into that corner, but nevertheless he's gripped on. He is hitting every apex as best he can on the outset. The Virage della Santa bomb, and in behind Alessio Di Capua joining the fray as they come down towards the Mistral straight now. The very next chicane beckons as Tomek Paratic leads them through. He is now near enough 5 tenths clear of Donoso as they make their way down towards this first corner of this chicane. And indeed, it's still going to be Tomek holding off the advances of Donoso. These two have been absolutely unreal. The exchange, the battle has been exquisite as Jarno Opmeer is under treacherous conditions with Lucas UK, but he remains in P9, Jack.
Here comes Donoso again. He tried it here a lap earlier. He's going to try it again. Go for the cutback line on the inside. Tomek will be wise to this. Defends the inside line. And round this next right-hander, Donoso's going to have a look this time, is he? No, he backs off again. It's going to come down to the final lap in France. Can Tomek Paratic take his first win? Can Donoso take his first win? It's all going to come down right to the very end. Unfortunately, Tom 97, I think, has had an off and he's dropped down to P16 out of the points. But round the last 2 corners, it's down to the last lap, George.
It is. I gotta say, answers on a postcard, please, folks, because I don't have the answer for you. Tomek Paratic, who's been waiting for his moment for a long time. He has gone through podiums, P3s, and endless positions in the top 10, yet to get his first race win. But he's here today, and he's on top so far. But Donoso is not leaving sleeping dogs lie right now. He's 2.5 tenths in behind the Polish driver, Tomek Paratic, and the Chilean is doing everything he can to put a spoke in the wheel of Tomek's success here at France. Behind Alessio Di Capua doesn't seem to be closing that much. That 8 tenths of a second gap has been pretty much ironed out for the past couple of laps, but Tomek still in P1. He's got it all to do though. He's got Donoso all over the back of him, and Donoso's just going to throw everything at him now, Jack.
Here we go. Is Donoso going to do? He gets out of shape here, though. He gets into overtake mode. He doesn't have enough to use, though. He's saving it. I know exactly where he's saving it for. After this chicane, fuel indicator blinking because they're running out of fuel on the final lap. That's not a problem. They've got enough to bring it to the end. Here we go. Paratic now. He knows that Fabrizio is strong here. Fabrizio's a little wide on the exit, and he doesn't get the traction that he needs. He's into overtake mode using all of it as they come down to the long right-hander, but he hasn't got enough. But as they come up to the long right-hander, this is going to be it here through the last right-hander for the last time. Tomek very wide there, but he manages to get it in shape. Here comes Donoso. He can't quite get up the inside though. Tomek defends it very well, holds the middle of the road. This is going to be the last sector now. Donoso to the outside line. Here we go for the finish line. Donoso to the outside. He's got it. Donoso's got it on the last corner. Here we go. I think Paratic got a puncture. Paratic's got a puncture on the left rear. It happened to Josh Idaho in Bahrain, and it's happened to Paratic in the final sector. Oh my lord, you cannot write this down. Paratic with a puncture. Donoso comes through the last corner. Oh my lord, Fabrizio Donoso wins the French Grand Prix in the last sector. Di Capua is going to cross the line in second place. Oh my lord, Tomek Paratic, my heart goes out to you.
Oh my word, Tomek Paratic, heartbreak here at France, a puncture costing him that P1, but Donoso, Fabrizio Donoso Delgado is your winner of the French Grand Prix, and indeed Alessio Di Capua takes P2, Tomek on penalties makes it P3, Longue down to P5 with Mode Sweat, that being Napadovsky up into P4, but heartbreak for Tomek Paratic, who felt that he had the race won, he was there, had every chance, the puncture came through, it cost him everything in this race today. Once again the bridesmaid, never the bride, a puncture has cost him. Donoso takes P1, what a race, Jack, the drama just did not stop.
Oh, what typical ORL, just never ceases to amaze. Unfortunate, pity for Tom 97 as well. He's running well in the points, but he crossed the line for 18th place. And Formula Kevin, he's had a lonely race down in P19. Unserved penalty for Tom, but he's now serving there. But running through the rest, Di Capua P2, another podium. He has 100% record of podiums now. believe it or not. He's had 2 races, 2 podiums. Paradzik, though, he did everything right, and just everything just it went wrong from Longley, Ben Sabo, Otmir, P7, Kamil Common, Ruben Vallejo, and fair play, Tan Yu Tong, P10 on his debut.
Yeah, Tan Yu Tong, the F1 esports driver in the Chinese series, has made it his first points of the season. Of course, that being top 10, but what a race indeed. Heartbreak for Tomek indeed has cost him a race win. But Fabrizio Donoso is your winner. And what a phenomenal finish to this Grand Prix. Motorsport is the game's driver of the day. But I get a feeling that you'd be hard-pressed to actually find a driver of the day, given the strategy's changed so much. And you can see there the caricature of Brendan Lee on the top step there. No doubt for Fabrizio Donoso. A great win indeed for the Renault team. They get sufficient points here today as we now look at the final results. The classifications, what a race. Donoso is your race winner. What a race indeed, and he takes it, his first win of the ORL campaign. Alessio Di Capua in P2. Another great drive there from that man. Ferrari taking good points here today. Tomek Paradzik, heartbreak there for Tomek. He looked to have it done, but around the final few bends, he got a puncture. It cost him everything. Motorsport in P4, and Nicholas Longue in P5. Ben Zabo P6. Jana Watmir, what a recovery drive. P7 after the switch up in strategy. Kamil Common P8. Ruben Vallejo P9. Tan Yu Tang in P10. Danny Moreno P11, James Baldwin P12, Viasar Corny P13, Nicholas Matteo P14, Lucas UK P15, Falcon Nardi P16, Veloce Hayes, Matthias Colligon P17, Tom 97 on his debut down to P10 after the penalties he's accrued. Good to see him out on track though. Formula Kevin P19 after making 2 stops, and Mr. Anchor, the only DNF of the race, and that rounds off your final grid positions. But Jack, did we expect any of that?
Oh, that's the second time that's happened in ORL. Remember Josh Idawu in Bahrain going for the win? Got a puncture in the last corner. Tomek Paradzik leading most of the race. Comes to the last sector, puncture. It's absolute heartbreak. But a new winner, Fabrizio Donoso. We always like to see a new winner. And at least Jaro Otmir still continuing his good points finish, his points finishing record. But you really can't make this up. But I mean, that was just insane. But I think we have Fabrizio in with us now.
Yeah, we do. Fabrizio is in the caster booth with us, folks. And Fabrizio, I gotta say, what a win from yourself. But under very strange circumstances, Tomek has joined us too. But just talk us through that, Fabrizio. That was absolutely unbelievable. Great to see you on the top step, though. Back with a vengeance, that's for sure.
Thank you, Gio. Good evening to all. Yeah, first of all, I would like to say that win goes to Tomek. We've been practicing actually together before the race with Nico as well. I think they were both a little bit faster than I was, so I don't feel like I deserved that one that much. I was more than happy with P2. And actually, Tomek did a better job than me on the tires with the Inter, so a bit of RNG there. He fully deserved the win. But yeah, I had a pretty clean race, all going to plan. Just making sure I was sticking with Nico and Tomek in front of me. And yeah, then the rain came, and it was actually try the chance to go to the end. Thankfully, it worked. And yeah, no penalties as well, which is a positive. On this track, it's kind of hard to not get a penalty. But yeah, I kept the composure, and yeah, happy with the win.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to you, Donoso. I mean, I got to say, that's very gracious of you as well to obviously say that Tomek deserved it. I mean, he certainly did. It's just a shame that things happen the way they do. Outside forces at work, that's for sure. But nonetheless, it was a great drive from yourself. I mean, it was very difficult circumstances. The strategies were pretty much twisted throughout this race. Just talk about the way that rain came into the fray. I mean, how much did that change things? Did you feel that you had it in the bag as soon as you saw those droplets come down? Did you feel that you were on the right strategy to garner a positive result?
Actually, yeah, I'm pretty confident in the rain. I like those conditions. Maybe more than the dry. I feel like I can make more of a difference in terms of lap time. But yeah, I mean, we planned that strategy straight up from quali because it was gonna rain. So that's why we went on the mediums with Nico and Tomek. And well, yeah, it worked perfectly. Where the rain came just at the end of the medium stint. And yeah, from there was just making sure to not get a penalty on the inters and try to follow. And yeah, I tried to overtake Tomek, but slowly got a fully sanded and cause maybe an accident, which was probably going to be the case if I just fully sanded. So yeah, I mean, I tried, but I saw that it was not possible. So I just stick behind Tomek, and well, you got a bit massively unlucky on those last few corners. So yeah, I think that the strategy today was perfect.
Yeah, no, I mean, congratulations on the race win, of course, and obviously a big confidence booster from yourself. I mean, you've been up there fighting on frequent occasions. I mean, I want to talk to you as well about the F1 Esports Pro Series just briefly as well, because obviously you've come through, you've come back into the fold now. Of course, we saw you a couple of seasons back. Of course, who can forget that very first encounter in 2017 when you battled Brendan Lee at Abu Dhabi? I, of course, have rewatched that on countless occasions, and I still can't believe to this day of how it was yourself, Zerner, and of course Lee going into the final race of the campaign, and you left it all on the plate. Really, you left it all out on the track, which was phenomenal. How does it feel to be back in the fold now? Of course, because this is the first proper conversation me and you have had together. How is that experience coming back into F1 Esports?
Well, coming back into F1 Esports this year is kind of a building year. Not gonna lie, I don't feel like I'm on the top of my level. I think it shows on Event One that I'm still not sometimes able to deliver as I should, but I'm working on it. Actually, I feel a lot better since the end of Event One because I did a few changes on my rig. I feel a lot more in sync with the rig. So yeah, I think I'm improving, and hopefully I can reiterate that in the event 2 and the whole F1 esports season.
Well, superb. And I've got to say, congratulations on a P1, and we'll look forward to seeing how you get on as well in the races to come. Congratulations, Fabrizio. Well done.
Thanks, you. Thanks.
Well done. P2, Alessio Di Capua, welcome to the caster booth. First encounter with yourself. 2 good races this season already in your first 2 races. Congratulations on another great race. Well done.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you've shown some incredible pace. Just talk us through it, because obviously you're a new driver here at ORL. Where did you come from? Of course, you came out of nowhere. Talk us through your rise into ORL.
I come from Italy. These 2 first race for me was been very, very, very good. I didn't think to get these 2 results in comparison on this monster like Nicolas, Fabrizio, and other guys like Opmer. And for me, it's really, really great to know that I can fight with them.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, your pace has been extraordinary. I really enjoyed watching you last week at Canada. It was absolutely mind-blowing. Of course, you're obviously building from now onwards. I'd imagine, obviously, an esports seat is very much on the cards in the future. Is that what you're planning?
Yeah, if my planning is been on esports.
Your plan is esports?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Terrific. Well, you're certainly having a great showing for yourself. Just talk us through the conditions out there, because obviously very tricky in the wet, but you made a monumental rise from where you were. Of course, you managed to gain back a lot of time. Just talk us through, how comfortable do you feel in those wet conditions?
No, in the feeling in wet condition in the 2 race in Canada in the first in qualifying and in Paul Ricard in the race was very, very good. In quali, if the rain it could be started, it could started 2 or 3 minutes later, it would be better, but okay. It's I was being penalized in the qualifying because the rain started almost suddenly. But in the race, after any contact in the turn 1, in the turn 2, I stay calm, and a little bit I started to gain the gap of my driver ahead, and when when he entered to put the inter tires, intermediate tires, and the other guys that made the pit stop that started with soft tires. Yeah, I started to have a good pace developing a good pace on rain. Yeah, I know that I had the pace to catching Donoso, but yeah, for passing the Red Bull ahead of me, I was a little bit difficult because the slipstream in the straight was almost non-existent, and yeah, I had to force the overtake. Yeah, after I managed to overtake him, I started to the recoaching the gap, and yeah, the yeah, it's another good result for me.
Well, I got to say, congratulations. I think you pretty much summed up everything there. That was phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, I got to say, great race nonetheless.
Yeah, sorry for my little mistake in English.
No, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. No, I mean, looking forward to seeing how you get on, of course, through the season. I got to say, from me personally, it was a great race from yourself, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in the future, Alessio. Congratulations on a great P2.
Thank you very much.
Well done, well done.
Thank you very much.
And now we'll move on to Tomek Paradzik. I believe Jack has got some questions for him. Jack, fire away.
Tomek, I mean, I don't even know if I have any questions for him. I'm just going to let you explain what just happened there. That must be the most gutting thing in the world. You did everything right, and then the tire gave way in the last sector. Just tell us how you're feeling now.
Yeah, I mean, the race was going well from the start. I chose the right strategy. I was the first one out of everyone on that strategy, and it worked perfectly. I ended up with one less stop than everyone, so I could go into the inters. And then, ever since the intermediate stint started, my main focus was just to keep the tires in a good condition while staying ahead of Fab, which wasn't easy. Fab quickly reduced the gap, and yeah, I had to manage both because I knew it was going to be very borderline finishing the race in or not in the puncture zone. So it was all down to millimeters and how you drive. So I had to drive. I definitely wasn't driving full pace. I had to drive slightly slower, slightly more cautious. And when Fabrizio got close towards the end, I also had to defend while still keeping, the tire wear under control. So after doing all that, and I was actually in the voice show with Fab and other people, he was telling me he had way more tire wear than me. Maybe not way more, but a couple percent more. And to save those couple percent, it took a lot of effort. So it's really gutting to not just lose the win, but lose it to something that you were working on pretty much the entire race, because the entire stint on Inters wasn't coming down to how fast I can drive, but how well I can manage the tires. I was trying to get down my tire wear per lap down to 4%. And yeah, then Fab started attacking. So it's just really gutting that you put all that effort into saving the tires and they end up blowing up and staying just fine for others, which, yeah, again, it's not their fault. It's just like there's some RNG elements in the game. Yeah, today I was just the victim of it. But these things happen. I know that I've shown great pace in all the stints in quali as well. And I think, yeah, I'm taking what it is, but it's definitely gutting. And I definitely feel really frustrated.
But even so, I know the moral victory isn't quite the same as the on-track victory, but you must take some solace from the fact that you controlled the race very well. You had really great pace. You were able to hold off Fabrizio for a large chunk of the race. You made the right strategy calls when you needed it to be. You must take some positives from that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, before this race, I was practicing together with the Renault guys, and in those practice sessions, I was already showing decent pace, which I was quite happy about. And then I was able to convert that pace onto the actual session, which I also don't do as often recently. So there are definitely positives to take from that. And overall, looking at it, probably in a few days' time, I'll only think about this race with a smile on my face because I know that I've shown great pace. It comes down to the fact that the reward isn't exactly there. But yeah, this is racing, and we just gotta accept that because those things gonna happen. And I can imagine I can only be prepared for more heartbreaks like that in the future if I keep doing this. So yeah, you just gotta take the positives out of the race and keep going.
Yeah, very mature attitude from Free Atomic. Even so, still on the podium, but I think in all our hearts it's the moral victory for Atomic. But commiserations, and let's hope that the luck goes your way in the next round.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, next up, we now have Nicholas Longue, of course, the other Renault driver. He's in with us in the caster booth. We've got a bumper crowd in the caster booth today, folks. Nicholas Longue, got to say, a very strange race from yourself. How you doing, buddy? You okay?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. And you guys?
Yeah, living the dream, living the dream. Of course, it was like a mixed race for you today, really, wasn't it? I mean, you looked very quick at the start. I think that obviously when the rain came down, it sort of screwed with quite a few strategies out on track. Not to mention, I think there was some track limit issues as well for yourself. Of course, France known for that. Just talk us through that race. It seemed quite difficult for yourself from the off, but you managed to hold on to at least a respectable position.
Well, I mean, the Fabrizio and Tomek have said pretty much most of the race, but like, yeah, at the beginning, I felt really confident. Me and Tomek and Fab were working very well together to open up a gap to the guys behind, so we could prepare to potentially fight between us to get the win. But then when the rain started, I saw that Tomek and Fab pitted. Well, I knew they were gonna pit, but I didn't want to double stack because I thought I was going to hold up Fab way too long and it wouldn't be worth it. And the grip was still fine. Like coming up to the last sector with the mediums was still perfectly fine, the grip. And then just as soon as I hit turn one and next lap, grip completely gone. And I start losing seconds after seconds. So yeah, and then I ended up behind the Red Bull, I think, which was a rocket on the straight. Couldn't overtake at like, yeah. So it took a while to overtake him. But I feel like I mean, that's why I think I got the penalty. I just tried to push a bit more than I should have, but the pace was fast. So I'm not discontent with the race. It was fun.
No, I got to say, it was very action-packed. I mean, it's not very often you get this sort of action in rainy conditions when it comes to F1 esports, but this was quite the opposite. Of course, the strategies were twisted from the off. Of course, Jarno's race was pretty much cost. He looked like he had it in the bag, given that the dry conditions seemed ominous at the start, but it all seemed to twist, and that seemed to bring out a whole array of different strategies. And yourself, Nicholas, you seemed to manage to cope with it at the end, and you were starting to gain some real serious pace. Was it the case that obviously without DRS and the sort of like the reduced use of slipstreaming sort of scuppered your chances at a potential podium here today?
I would say for sure. I mean, I don't want to not to like brag or anything, but I feel like I had pretty good, like really good pace. I like this track. It's my home track, so I really wanted to win. But yeah, I mean, racing, this stuff happens to anyone, so yeah, it's fine.
Good man. Well, I got to say, congratulations on doing what you did. Of course, obviously, double stacking wasn't on the cards, and it did cost your race. But
Yeah.
you got to go with what happens during the race. But no, fair play to you for finishing the way you did, and we'll look forward to seeing more in the future, Nicholas.
Yes, thank you.
Good man. Good man. And you,
Right.
Jack?
Next up on the list, Tian Yu Tang. Welcome to ORL. Your first race. For those of you that don't know, Tian Yu is the Chinese esports champion. So Tian Yu, just tell us. I know it's very early in the morning for you at the moment, but just tell us about your race and your first experience of ORL. Tian Yu, can you hear me? I don't think he can. Tian Yu? Tian Yu? Right, guess we're not having that interview then. Back to you, George.
Yeah, well, I'm pleased to say we've got Tom97 in the caster booth, so we'll move straight on to Tom97.
Bye, Tian.
Tom, can you hear us?
Oh no.
We haven't lost Tom as well, have we? Tom, are you there?
I am here. Sorry, apologies.
Oh, no, it's okay. Yeah, no, it's good to have you aboard. I've got to say, Tom, we've spoken a few times up towards this race. It's great to finally have you in an ORL race. Just talk us through it. What were your expectations coming into an event such as this? Because it certainly was, I can imagine, something a little bit different to what you've been involved in before.
Yeah, I think the target was to score points. I had some good pace, admittedly dry pace. Didn't plan for the rain. But having said that, I gambled on a wet setup. And it paid off. The pace was good. I had pace for P6 today, but I let myself down. To be fair, I didn't really clock the tyre wear, so I just kind of went for it and forgot about saving tyres. So hence why I actually popped on lap 26. So yeah, I just went for it. I had a fun race. I had a good pace. I was stuck behind Bence in the first stint because I got light green wing damage on lap 1, and I did the entire first stint with wing damage. But I had good pace, so I was holding on. But yeah, a bit of everything. But I enjoyed it. I went for it. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a very a slender move to go into the use the soft use the soft setup. Sorry, obviously, certainly provided you with a lot more opportunity in the wet conditions. So you must have been very happy to see the rain come down when it did. I'd imagine that was the case.
Yeah, well, I went out in qualifying on soft tires, and I thought myself, do I actually want this or not? Because the rain was touch and go in regards to when the timing would be. So I actually abandoned my soft tire qualifying lap and just thought, okay, you know what? I'll just try and be the best of the intermediate runners and just take from there. So yeah, I started P17, got a great start at P13, and then somehow I got wing damage, which I didn't actually register. It wasn't on my end. I think someone hit me from the side, and it gives you like indirect wing damage. And then I just held P14 for the whole stint. Obviously, then the soft tire runners started to pit. So I was running in the points, P9. Debated whether to get my wing fixed or not, because if I'd not got my wing fixed in the pit lane, obviously I would have saved myself 6 seconds. Probably could have been ahead of Tianyu Tang, Bent, and also I think it was Ruben as well. So there's a bit of a decision to make, but I decided to get my wing fixed. I had to catch up 6 seconds to that pack of 3 guys in that intermediate stint, which I did. Obviously, I hurt my tires in the process, and yeah, just a shame really, because I had 6 seconds of penalties. But looking at the final gaps, if I'd got that window that I was looking for with no wing damage and no wing fix in the pit lane, I could have finished behind Nico quite comfortably, even with the penalties.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, your rapid rise to the field certainly seemed to pay off. Incredible performance given the damage as well. I mean, obviously, I want to talk to you as well a little bit about your plans going forward, because I know obviously you have a very successful and rising YouTube channel, which is excellent to see. Of course, what are your plans for the immediate future? I mean, how far are you looking to take your racing? Are we looking at a potential esports visit from Tom97? What are the plans for yourself going forward?
Always said the same thing. I don't think esports is for me. I think I respect, and there's a level. I think a lot of people don't realize there's a level of mental toughness that I'm not willing to kind of dedicate myself to, because the hours, the dedication, the fine margins, and the perfection is something that I probably could, but I realistically don't fancy doing. I look at competitive league racing as fun, something I want to do, and to be fair, I'm enjoying it much more than, let's say, career mode, which is what I am, a career mode player. So I'm definitely getting that itch in terms of I'm definitely loving this a lot more at the minute. It's my go-to thing to do. Obviously, as you know, I'm in another league at the minute. Things are going well. I'm leading the championship there. I am hopeful to maybe get 1 or 2 more races in this season as a reserve, possibly, depending if the stars align. And then I definitely think for next season, you might see me here more regularly.
Well, we'd be very excited to have you with us, Tom97, and a great debut from yourself as well. So, from me and Jack and all the team, a great, very, a lot of congratulations going your way. Great drive, well done. And finally, last but not least, I believe Tianyu Tang is back with us. Can you hear us? Tianyu? I'm not getting anything, Jack, are you?
No, nothing.
I think we might have to knock that one on the head, but we'll hopefully get through to Tianyu Tang, hopefully in the future. Great drive from Tianyu Tang. In fact, obviously his first race, actually managing to get a P10 as well, which was very good indeed. But Jack, another race done, another race in the books, and certainly a very interesting one to say the least. We had lots of action out on track, and we were certainly glad to see it, given the fact that France can sometimes be a little bit tricky for overtakes.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was probably one of the best races of the season for the sheer drama that I threw up. The new winner, the new podium sitters, and the complete shake up in the order from just one qualifying session. Once the rain hit, it was total chaos, which is what we would love to see. And people just got the strategy right on the hot laps in qualifying. So it really threw up basically everything you could possibly want. But I mean, Tomek absolutely deserved that today. But that's to take nothing away from Fabrizio, because he really put Tomek under pressure as well. So there's still I think that there's still more to come from Tomek, and I think today is just going to make him hungrier for a first win.
Yeah, I think it's only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I think Tomek looked at it in a very mature way indeed, like you said, Jack, during his interview. It was his race to win. It looked like his race win. And I think he's taken solace in that fact as well. I think obviously Donoso paid homage to him in that same way. So we'll look forward to seeing more from Tomek, that's for sure. Obviously, as well, great to see some of the new guys out on track. Tom 97 was impressive. Tian Yu Tang as well. Great to see everyone sort of coming together and taking part in these events. It's certainly excellent to see. Just to say though, folks, if you enjoyed what you saw here today, smash us a little like down below, as well as don't forget a subscribe would be very nice as well if you haven't done so already. You can actually contact myself and Jack Canan as well on Twitter. You can find me at CRGGO on Twitter, and you can contact Jack at Jack C Comms as well. Don't forget to check out HyperX for all your technology needs. Of course, I don the wireless, the wired version of the headphones, the HyperX. They very
Wired
kindly sent me.
wireless.
Thank you very much, HyperX. Sorry, what was that, Jack?
Wired wireless.
Wired wireless from HyperX. But no, they're brilliant. Highly recommend a pair of these if you can ever get some, because I get to hear Jack all the time badgering in my ear, which is really good. But we'll
In
look
high
forward-
quality.
In high quality, absolutely, in high quality. But guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. We've really enjoyed bringing this race to you. Don't forget, like I say, to slam the socials, give us a little cheeky like, drop your comments down below, and we'll see you guys next week for yet more racing from ORL. But in the meantime, we'll see you again. See you next time. Goodbye.